Hey, ladies, how's it going? Happy Tuesday. Can you guys hear me? Let me know how the sound is sounding. Hello, hello. I don't know where you guys are all at, but in my area, it is super like cold and rainy. It's definitely turning into fall season right now, which I kind of like. So let me play a little. How's it going, y'all? Happy Tuesday. Hold up. How's everybody doing? Let me know. Okay, perfect. Yes, I'm nice and clear. Hello, hello. Hey, you Jew. Now you know damn well that black men are ruining the community. They contribute nothing but dysfunction. Marie says yes. So, yeah, as you guys can see by the title of this live, I have it as Are Black Men Ruining the Black Community, particularly in 2022? And, you know, this, depending on how you feel about the Black community and where you're at as a Black woman when it comes to this community, will depend a lot on your answer, right? It will depend a lot on, you know, your value for this community, right? There's a lot of Black women today who are fed up. They don't care to do any saving whatsoever. When I was on Twitter the other night, a lot of Black women are tweeting how they haven't seen a lot of Black women out and about marching and protesting and doing all these other things that was happening during the BLM riots, and just like 2 years ago, and what was that, like 2020, where all the George Floyd and stuff was going on and all these riots and marches. That hasn't been going on for you know a while. And just even on social media, haven't seen a lot of Black women posting all this social justice related stuff, not as much as they were, right? So, the question of, do Black women value this community and value what it once was, is very much so debatable. But what I'm seeing from all types of Black women, I'm not saying that they want to cape anymore and really stick up for Black community issues. They're more so concerned with themselves, just worrying about their own life, right? So there's just a few things I want to talk about that I haven't spoken on. And when I go live, I really like to show you guys information as well about what's going on and just what's the truth uh, regarding like what's being said. Let's see, I had another. So I posted, if you saw at least the thumbnail, there's a few things that I have on there um, that I wanted to discuss that's just come out in the news. And on my channel, I don't really talk about a lot of celebrity stuff, but this is still, something I think needs to be discussed because there's some facts and some truth that go along with it. So the first thing that I've really been wanting to talk about is the whole Kyrie, Kanye, the Jays. Now, I don't really want to talk about the Jays now because apparently, you got to be careful what you say about them, right? got to be very careful. But there was a movie that I didn't even know about until Kyrie Irving posted about it, about how Black people are basically the original Jews, the original Jays, and the history that got washed away because white Jewish people took over. Well, after reading a lot of books on ancient African civilization, how groups migrated throughout different regions back in when and I'm talking about like BC era, like long centuries ago, right? I'm not going to sit here and say, and by the way, they consider this a conspiracy theory. They consider the Hebrews who were once black and then white Hebrews came and hijacked everything. They consider that a conspiracy theory. They don't consider that the truth. They don't consider that fact. Um, but I'm here to say that I have read plenty of documents and historical evidence to prove that does prove that there was a lot of groups who were migrating to different areas and just flat out taking over. Now, what I'm not going to say is that the narrative that these black men from centuries ago just victimized and conquered and it's the white man's fault. That's actually not true either. Um, if you know history, then you should know that black men from those centuries ago participated in certain trades and in certain treaties that eventually they lost power because of it. So, from all the historical documents that I've read, how it is explained, it's explained as in a way that there were a lot of African kingdoms that were very powerful and they wanted to expand and seek more power by working with other groups of people, only for those other groups of people to kind of outsmart them in their own game and end up taking over everything or having ties that lasted them for generations that made them rich, while the Africans kind of got pushed to the side, lost out on the deal, lost out on the treaty that they themselves willingly participated in. All right? That is a lot of the history that I've read. KM says slavery was a choice. Kanye West was right. Absolutely. I'm sorry guys, but he was right in that statement. It was definitely a choice, okay? No white no group of white men stormed the shores of Africa and snatched up a bunch of big, huge African warriors as slaves. That didn't happen exactly. It more so happened in a way of African chiefs selling and trading African prisoners and African captives for gunpowder, whiskey, stuff like that. It was called transatlantic slave trade, all right? Africa, certain African kingdoms and countries made a lot of money off of the slave trade. And actually, before slave trading with the Portuguese and Europeans happened, Africa was already participating in slavery by itself without having to give their people away to anyone else. All right. Matter of fact, another matter of fact, other racial groups were doing the same. Okay. The word slave Slavic, which are modern day Ukrainians and white people, because they participated in slavery themselves. White people were enslaving other white people, and so were the Chinese. The Chinese were also enslaving other Chinese. It's not a black and white thing. Everyone. All right. Let's be clear about that. So when Kanye came out and said this, if you really know history for real, and you're not subscribing to the brainwash they teach you in school and even on the news, you know it the real deal, you should have known that he's not incorrect in that statement. It was a choice because it was a trading system that Africans willingly participated in when they were already doing slavery themselves. So a lot of black people just obviously didn't understand that because a lot of black people just don't know their history. And I do think that there is a lot of waking up, quote unquote, that certain black people need to do, but not in this way. You know what I'm saying? Like not in the way that Kyrie um, and Kanye is saying it exactly. Hold on. So this. Wait a minute. That's not what I wanted. So let me show you guys. Okay. Let me show you guys what the word the word is. Let me show y'all this. Jeez, so much clicking. Okay, so this is the movie that Kyrie Irving apparently posted and is receiving, lots of pushback saying that this movie is basically telling you that black people are the original Hebrews and Jews. Let me see what y'all was saying. Goddess says, but if slavery was anyone's choice, it would be our male ancestors' choice, not due to the women who were forced into rape and abuse. Yeah, this is also true. This slavery was not a choice by black women. The decision to conquer and overpower other nations is never the decision by other women. It's always the decision by men. Always. Okay, women are in naturally, instinctually, are interested in being protected and security. Men are naturally interested in power and wealth creation, legacy, spreading their seed, and stuff like that. So, who's conquering who's trading who is never a decision that women want to make from the time they wake up in the morning. Women aren't thinking about that. Okay. That's something that men are thinking about, how they can gain power and conquer everything. So, yes, that's very clear point to understand. But this documentary, Hebrews to Negroes, I didn't watch it. It is on Amazon. I don't know if they took it down. There are some reports that some, uh anti-Semitic like rescue type of organizations or whatever are trying to petition Amazon to take this documentary down, but it's also a book, I believe. And once Kyrie Irving posted this, the book turned into Amazon's number one bestseller as far as like African American history category and biographies. And it like this book uh kicked off Barack Obama's book as number one. And now this book is number one, right? So this thing, yeah, five yeah, 5-part book and movie, I believe. Yeah. I didn't even know about this. I don't know when this even came out. Obviously, a lot of people probably didn't know about it. That's why now we know because Kyrie Irving posted it. But what I'll tell you is that this isn't the first type of documentary and or book to come out and say something like this. Um, if you've read anything else about, ancient African history, BC era, um, first of all, the entire continent of Africa was blackety black. So any parts of the continent that developed to having like lighter skinned people and flat out white people, there are white people that live in Africa and have been living there. That was all due to either race mixing, ancient race mixing, or ancient migration and cultural separations and settlements and stuff like that. But without the race mixing, without people from the Caucasus Mountains migrating over to the African continent, African people are blackety black, dark skin, a lot of them, pretty much all of them. Okay. So that's that on that. And so the quote unquote conspiracy is that people from the Caucasus Mountains, they migrated everywhere, right? They ended up in Poland, they ended up in Sweden, German and Ireland, and all over Europe. That's but at the end of the day, they're all still white people, right? They migrated there, and then but they also kept going more east. They went into the Middle East and they made their way up to like Northeast Africa. And once they got there, they race mixed with all the black women, created biracial people. Those biracial people were actually seen as better than the soul black people. They were seen as better. So, that's when you had the start of like colorism and stuff like that. They were seen as better, and then they also eventually took over. So these these people that migrated to Northeast Africa started impregnating the women, making deals, making treaties and trades in the barter system, and they ended up taking over that region. And then purely black people started getting pushed into regions of Africa that were away from the Nile River, which led to them being in lands that were a lot more dry and with a lot more famine. So the thing about the Nile River, guys, it's one of the biggest rivers in the world, debatable between the Amazon, but for a long time it was like one of the biggest rivers for a very long time. And the water from that river also created other little streams that would go into the African continent and create all of that plush greenery and vegetation. So a lot of people from different regions of the world migrated to Africa once this land was discovered. Once all this greenery and vegetation were discovered and kind of set up shop, started race mixing during trade systems and kind of took over. So because of that history is why a lot of people like Kyrie Irving and Kanye West believe that Jewish people who are technically racially white migrated to these areas of the East by the Middle East and Africa, that Northeast Africa region, and pretty much took over everything and stole, quote unquote, stole something, but that's not true. Okay, that's not really accurately true. That's an assumption. It is true that people from the Caucasus Mountains migrated to all the way up to Africa, but it's not, you can't confirm that things were stolen, quote unquote. What you can confirm is that trading treaties and certain systems and institutions were put in place. And you can confirm that maybe one group of people just did better than another group. And the losing group got the heck out of there, or the losing group just didn't reap the benefit, which, AKA the wealth that we see in another group today. That's really what we can confirm happened majority of the time. You guys saying? That's true. The sales have increased 400% because of the exposure in the media. Yes, yes. This is getting around, but this little Hebrews to Negroes thing, this isn't really news to people who know anything about African history. Um, God says, even if it is true, what frustrates me is even if this is true, why does it matter in 2022? Exactly. It see the thing is that there's nothing that can be done now. Like now we live in a time where anyone has the opportunity to succeed. So now it kind of doesn't matter because black men can succeed the way they say they should be if they just put in the work, the same way immigrants do who come here as refugees and somehow they end up owning businesses all of a sudden. Everyone can get it. Like everyone can get it. Everyone can get the success. So that is why these conversations that these men want to have in the media about what is owed to them from centuries ago is really pointless. Just doesn't matter because as a person today, that you know how many people are entering into new money. Okay, we have our old money folks, and then we got our new money folks. There's so many new money people coming in, and that new money. If you are a person who's that person in your family who has new money, and you use your money wisely and invest wisely, you can then pass on to your kids, who can pass on to their kids and their kids, and then there will be a day where the new money you have today can turn into old money centuries, or not, well, I don't want to say centuries, but generation and decades later within your bloodline because of you. You can be that person who starts that generational wealth. But black men aren't focused on that. They're focused on, once again, the past, what happened centuries ago, what happened in the 60s, what they're owed, who took this from me. And the sad part is you have it coming from two very successful black men, Kyrie and Kanye. Kanye is supposedly what, like the richest black man or whatever. He just lost everything from trying to talk about something that happened centuries ago that just doesn't really matter anymore. He's a black man that has a lot of money, and he could have used his money to sow that seed to start that generational wealth that he claims is owed to the black community. If he would have just focused on today, he wouldn't be in the predicament he's in. You know what I'm saying? He wouldn't. Um, it's just like, this is how, and the black men that agree with him, this is how you can ruin the black community. When you focus on things that don't matter, when you focus on things from the past, when you're technically fine right now, and instead of just focusing on how you can get better right now, you screw that up by talking about what's owed to you in the past. Like, what? This man, Kanye, he has an academy. Doesn't he have like a basketball team? His sneakers, and he had so much going on that he could have just focused on and stuck to, and that could have really helped a lot of other people, a lot of other black people especially, get up. But he decided to start talking about things that don't matter. Decided to start saying that the Jews stole something from black people. It's just not true, guys. It's just not true. Did people steal back then? Yes, people still steal today, but to the point where it's like an entire culture and trillions of wealth and all that stuff stolen. No, that didn't really happen in that way. There was a lot of participation that the losing group in this deal did to get them to where they're at. It is what it is. Beauty for Ashes says yes, the treaty when Israel became a new nation state. Since then, millions have been made from resources of area, but also connections and business sense of people that occupy the land now. Exactly. This is really about business. All right. When you enter into a contract with somebody, the person who has the one up in a contract, even if you guys have 50-50 mutual interest within the contract, the person who has the one up is the person who's probably read the contract inside and out. And the person going to be the potential loser is the one who did not read the contract, who didn't read the fine print, who is just carrying on. African kingdoms got really powerful because of the work that they did, right? There were powerful African kingdoms because they worked really hard and they had an aggressive sense to them, meaning they were able to captive and raid through other smaller African tribes to build up the kingdom. But when you have other groups of people that just know how to work smarter, entering a deal with you, if you're not just as smart as them, you could lose, even though you've worked really hard. I mean, this is kind of like the competition portion of business and how it works. The person who works smarter is probably going to come up on top than the person who just works harder. I mean, this is kind of like the capitalistic system that we live in. The smart people tend to win a lot. And then the hardworking people who aren't as business savvy, um, intellectually business savvy, they tend to be the ones that lose out. They tend to have their stuff stolen. They tend to not be the ones to reap the benefits long term because they didn't read the fine print. They signed the contract and they didn't read it. And that happens a lot in the black community when black people get a lot of money and sign bad deals and contracts. They put in the work, they have the talent, they have the influence. They don't read the fine print, so they end up getting got in the end by these corporations who know how to work smarter and who and who have read the fine print, who know how to negotiate, who know how to come up with terms and policies, and just know how to do things outside of the hard work. You know what I'm saying? So that was just from that type of concept, that happened a lot during those ancient times. There was just a group of people who knew how to work smarter and a group of people who knew how to work harder, and someone lost and someone got on top. It is what it is. That's just the nature of competitive the nature of competition in business, you know? Kane says they lost a lot of money just in days because they have no concept of ownership, entertainer and performers for the master, and just as master giveth, he taketh away. Yeah, that's another thing, right? Kanye started as an artist. He turned, I guess you can say he turned into a businessman because he has things, but the epitome of what he is an artist, whether that's a rapper, designer, creative directing, like his power is in his artistic capabilities. His power isn't in business, obviously, because he's talking crazy. He's not reading the fine print of his contracts, obviously, which is why he thinks it's okay to do what he does without really knowing the repercussions of it. And he's losing out. Kyrie as well. Kyrie it came to what he is today from playing basketball, not for being like a historian, not for being a political commentator, right? His money and his influence was gained by his athletic capabilities, point blank, period. So you ruin the Black community when you don't just do your job. All right, when you don't just do what you're supposed to do, when you apply for a job, you read the job description, they hire you. You doing things outside of the guidelines and policies that the job requires and expects from you, that's on you in terms of what happens later. And that job has every right to fire you. That job has every right to put you on a probation or on some kind of suspension because you're acting out of bounds of the contractual agreement you have to work for them and represent the company. All right. With influence, influence does come with power, but not really much power if you don't control anything at the end of the day. Okay, if your influence is only powerful when it comes to getting people to feel some type of way by speaking this quote unquote truth, you don't really have any power. Goddess says again, there's always some big bad oppressor causing them to make all these bad decisions. Exactly. It's so true. No one is making Kyrie and Kanye talk about Jewish people. Nobody's making them talk about how the original Hebrews were black. But what I will say about that is I'm not going to say that that is not true because black people were the original inhabitants of those areas. And it's not until people from the Caucasus Mountains migrated to those areas to start doing business and start setting up shop over there, and started just working on the land as well. Um, that there was some changes, but the original inhabitants of these areas weren't blonde hair, blue eyed. That's what I'm saying. But to say these things, you know, just out of the blue like this, like even if black people were to bring this to light on a mass scale, nothing is going to change. Like I said before, nothing's gonna change because you could say centuries ago something was stolen from us. We entered into a bad deal centuries ago to set us up to be, a group of people that collectively don't have any wealth. You can say all of that, but at the end of the day, in 2022, the contracts that have been signed this year are signed, sealed, and delivered. Okay. No one's going to break up a contract because of something that happened to Black people during uh 500 BC era. Okay. That's just not going to happen. And this is also another classic example of how Black men that agree with Kanye and Kyrie and what they're actually doing. This is another example of how these men don't really want to work to build anything. They want to talk their way into getting respect and to getting resources instead of actually putting in the work, instead of actually just working smarter when they do decide to put in the work. Other groups of men have done this, and that's why other groups of men have what they have. Immigrants and refugees have done this when they come to the States, which is why immigrants tend to also be one of the most successful group of people here. So, no one else is just talking their way into power, um, and expecting to still get rewarded. And definitely, they're not expecting to get taken seriously. Power is done by hard work, proving that you deserve to be at the top, not just by talking about how someone stole your position at the top. And usually, when people say someone stole from me, usually what they really don't want to come to terms with is that they weren't smart enough in the game they decided to play and they lost. Okay, sore losers. That's what they sound like. Sore losers sound like you stole from me, you took this from me, you did something when really you're just not smart enough for the game you decided to play. Period. I mean, it is what it is. It really is what it is. And if this is a century old generational thing that Black men have been dealing with in terms of not being smart enough to play the game to win like other groups of men have, then that is something that Black men need to come to terms with. And they need to take advantage of the fact that it is 2022. There's so much opportunity for Black men to do stuff, and they need to just focus on that. They need to focus on what the Black community needs in general is to focus on course correction. No more what happened in the 60s and what happened in 1619, proclamation, emancipation, and whatever. No more of those, no more of that. That is holding the Black community back astronomically. People, men of these other groups today are focusing on how to freaking make Mars the second Earth or how to put human beings living on Mars and stuff. No one is talking about who the original Hebrews are. This conversation popped up out of the blue. It is so random, right? We have a whole election going on today. Like, nobody cares. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I actually think, even though this is Kyrie and Kanye and other Negro Hebrew Israelites talking points, honestly, in actuality, what I really believe is that a lot of just regular, everyday Black people, to be honest, don't really care so much about what the Jays are doing and what the Jays owe them. Okay. They don't, to be honest. Black women, especially, certainly don't. Black women have things to do. Okay. Black women have lives to live. They're not, Black women as a collective are not worried about who the original Hebrews are, right? Like I said earlier, women in general aren't worried about who deserves the power and who doesn't. We're worried about the security and the protection and stuff like that, mostly. Okay. But, you know, Black men are ruining the community by focusing on these things. You have these two very successful Black men at the end of the day, they have a lot of money. They are not focusing on the right things. This is not like, what did this do for them besides have them basically lose their jobs? and put them right back in the trenches of where they started, on the avenue to getting back over there. What is telling the world that as a black man, you owe me something? What is that going to do for you? By piss other than piss people the hell off and believe you're a freeloader because you really don't wanna work for anything, you just wanna sit here and point the finger? It's not going to do anything for Black men and certainly not the Black community. And unfortunately, as Black women, even though you might be divested, you might be a swirler, or you might not even worry about dating, you're completely detached and doing your own thing, we still are Black women. And other people who don't know about us personally and what our personal goals are still going to see us and associate us with this by visual and just by association, just by looking at us. So this doesn't do anything for anyone. This can hold a lot of Black people back that really don't care about who the original Hebrews are, right? They really don't care. Um, they really don't. If you were to go into certain parts of the world, there's still a lot of Black people there, even though the imagery that we see, these people are, of lighter skin. Um, the imagery that they don't show is that there's still a large population within those parts of the eastern part of the world where people are of dark melanated skin tone. All right. So where I stand personally on this isn't incorrect historical information. This isn't incorrect. If we want to keep it real, this is incorrect. Now, the conspiracy that something was stolen from us, that Jews, Middle Easterns, Arabs, whatever, stole something, that is not, you can't prove that throughout. There's no evidence to prove that. That's why they're calling it a conspiracy. That's why they're calling it anti Semitic or whatever, because it's you're accusing this group of people, the Jays, from stealing something when really they were probably just good in business, when really they were just smart with their work, and the African man was not, and he lost. All right, he lost. Not even with the Jews, but we can also see this with the Europeans. Okay, the African kingdoms, like I just said before, were had a lot of money because they had their own slavery as well. African kingdoms were pretty powerful. They fell and lost it all because they entered into treaties with in a different type of business that they just didn't know anything about. They didn't work smarter in that. But at the end of the day, they chose to participate and it ended up costing them their kingdom because of it. Maybe, here's a thought, here's a thought. Maybe if throughout history, Black men actually coveted their communities, if Black men actually said, we're not going to work because you are men from foreign lands that we don't know about, we're good over here. Goodbye. Take care. We don't want to enter in a trade with you. We don't want to enter in the transatlantic slave system with you. Go find another community to ask for slaves. Maybe if the African chiefs and historically Black men just had that mentality regarding their communities, this conversation wouldn't need to happen. There wouldn't be a such thing as Hebrews or white Jews coming in to take something from anybody because you didn't make it available to get taken in the first place. What about that? That's just that's just a thought, guys. Because when people steal something, it's because that item was available to be taken. If you have something locked up extra tight, extra sealed with a code and all types of stuff, the probability of it being stolen from you is very, very slim. Okay. If I leave my purse out in the open, someone's probably going to come and take my purse. But if I hide my purse, if I just bring my purse with me, actually, and I don't leave it out anywhere, it's probably not going to get taken from me. Probably that's going to be very slim. And if someone tries to take it from me, it won't happen without a fight. Okay. But I don't know. Throughout history, despite all this power and all this influence that Black men claim they've had, They must not have valued it as much as they thought they did if it was easily stolen. They would have kept it secret, they would have kept it hidden, they would have kept it locked up. Therefore, no one would have stolen anything. I don't really know why the black men that are on the Hebrew Israelites rather are not acknowledging that, not acknowledging that the value of your communities just wasn't there, which is why you was willing to work with Tom, Dick, and Harry from Mars, Venus, and Jupiter, and without believing you need to know about them. Why you just thought that was okay? You just didn't value what you had going on, which is why you was willing to work with anybody. And this is evident today throughout everything. If you're a business, if you're an entrepreneur and you create a product and someone is like, "Oh my gosh, your product is amazing. Can I buy it off of you?" When people want to sell businesses, when people really value what they created and it's they hold it, it's very important to them, they're not just going to sell to anyone. They're gonna do their research on who they're selling to. They're only gonna sell to a person that they trust, and not only that, but they're gonna sell for the top dollar, for the highest price, right? So even if the deal does go bad, quote unquote, at least they have a lot of money, 10 times as much money to recover and still build and still come out on top. That's the thing. Right? So we have a community of men historically who not only participated in bad deals with other groups of people that migrated from different regions of the world, from foreign lands, but we also have a group of men that didn't really know how to trade and work smart. That if they did give away something to these foreign people, they didn't give it away for the highest price to recover from the damages. They gave it away, number 1. They gave it away for cheap, number 2. And then number 3, complain that they lost, complain that they have nothing to show for it. That's really what happened. The Jays didn't steal anything. I personally don't have anything against uh, the Jays. I don't really, they respectfully never really crossed my mind. I mean, no group of people really crosses my mind like that for real. So, but these Hebrew Israelites, they be on the corner of my neighborhood yelling and preaching and stuff like that. And oh God, if you've even heard them speak, everything it's literally a quote unquote religion of victimhood for the black man. They have some wild beliefs. They have very wild beliefs. These Hebrew Israelites. So I think Kyrie wanting to advocate for this and push this narrative out there, which is the main narrative of the Hebrew Israelites, um, it's more than just history. It's also a belief system that other groups of people now have to suffer because of it. And no, they're not going to they're not going to have him on the team. They're not going to promote him and put him on stage to do much of anything. They're just not going to do it. Yeah, I guess I've only come across the radical ones, you know what I'm saying? Because they have some crazy expectations for the world. They have some really interesting views that would if it was their way, society would collapse if we did what they wanted, by and large, alright? Black woman making money says we need to focus on getting resources today and not worry about history. It's important to know our history, but to live for the present and the future. Exactly. Exactly. Harboring on what happened in BC will do nothing for the Black community. Harboring on what happened in the 60s won't either. Not even what happened in the damn 90s. Not even that. Talking about OJ Simpson and Rodney King ain't gonna help the Black community either. And how the guys got off, whoever got off, none of that matters. I'm sorry. Were there black people that suffered? Yes. Is it unfortunate? Yes. How is that going to put food on my table? How? Can you tell me that? The real waking up the black community needs to do is to wake up out of thinking people owe you something and get to work. Get to freaking work. The refugees that come here with nothing but scraps as clothing can suddenly get to work and do the most, but yet black people in 2022 are still crying about Hebrews and Israelites and Emancipation Proclamation and Rodney King and freaking OJ Simpson trials and whatever. It's not gonna work like that for us. It's not gonna work like that. And these two black men, Kanye and Kyrie, very, very, they have a lot of money and they just all put it down the drain. I'd like to say this is also an example of you forgetting where you come from to the point where you are careless about it and throw it all away. And this also goes back to my point regarding how black men can develop value, but then not actually value it and just throw it all away, giving it away to someone else, signing bad deals, not doing the research, not trying to actually level up their way of thinking. Because a lot of people are saying black men cannot build. And to be honest, they actually have the physical DNA to build, but I don't think the intellectual capacity is there based off of history and based off of what we see going on still today in 2022. It's sad. It's really sad. The black community can be booming. The black community can be like a Jewish community with the money because black people, especially these black men, can get can go out here and make all this money and have all this influence. They can create some good stuff with that money. In the day, whether it's money coming from black men, white men, or Jewish people, money is still green, child. Okay. It will get accepted anywhere. If you know how to use it and you know how to use it in a smart way, it will get accepted. People will work with you. But if you want to talk up the side of your neck and talk crazy, who wants to be involved in that? People will always choose peace and harmony um before when it comes to money, before they choose money that is chaotic, offensive, and negative and just like a Debbie Downer. People aren't going to choose to work with somebody like that. Meanwhile, they're unaliving black women every 5.5 hours. Absolutely. And they're also unaliving themselves. Takeoff. I also put takeoff on here, right? Another way that black men are ruining the black community. I'm not really a, I don't really listen to a lot of rap music. Um, that's not, definitely not that hardcore rap. I mean, if it's on the radio, then whatever, like I'll listen to it. But I don't really go out and find new rappers and stuff like that. But what happened to Takeoff is very sad, and he was only 28. I didn't even know he was that young. I didn't even know he was that young. Getting shot, getting got out, and then over what a game, a dice game, some jealousy. Someone said something, and their lives got taken. That's one thing about other communities is they don't see each other like that. So you cannot get mad that the Jews are having all this smoke for people saying something to them, and then you're upset that black people are not only crazy things are being said about us, but our lives are getting taken, but yet no one's getting canceled. Look at the music that is in the Black community that glamorizes getting shot up, uh, promiscuity, drug use, flat out abuse of all kinds. That's what happens in the Black community. So, no, if the Black community is celebrating things like that, other groups of people will not stick up for you when those things actually happen in real life. However, other communities will stick up for themselves when that stuff happens because that's not what they promote within their communities. All right. So, this these types of men and that have all this money and have all this influence, they are ruining the Black community, literally. The lifestyle that is promoted in the Black community is so disgusting and horrific. If the entire world was the Black community, it would be utter chaos. You would have to be hiding out in freaking sewers to stay safe. Personally, that's what I think. I'm sorry. Because every day it's something. Every second, every 5.5 hours, it's something. No one would be safe. Right? That's why when I hear these pro-Black people very upset at the world and what's happening with all these institutions and structures, let's just say all went away. Let's just say all white people went away. Let's just say all the Hispanic folks went away. Do you know how much chaos there would be? Who would First of all, who would give us our food? Because 98% of farmers are white. Are Black men trying to farm? Are Black men trying to have gardens and shit? Like, is that going on? I don't think so. So that's number 1. We'd have no food. We'd have no vegetables, okay? Like, a lot of negativity would happen if this power Black men said that they wanted, they got. A lot of crap would happen. Nobody would be safe. We have the takeoff situation after the Kyrie and Kanye, who technically aren't Kyrie and Kanye technically aren't violent men, right? Kyrie Irving's just a basketball player. I don't really know the type of upbringing he came from. I know Kanye talks a lot about his upbringing from Chicago. I did watch his documentary that he has on Netflix. I don't know if it's still on there, but I did watch that. And he didn't seem, when he was younger, he didn't seem like a violent guy. He just seemed like a very artistic type of kid that was doing his own thing. And he even says today that he would get made fun of by other types of Black men. So I don't consider those Kyrie and Kanye to be violent and really push that violent lifestyle compared to like guys like Future, Migos, 21 Savage, and all that stuff, right? So, we have different ways that Black men are ruining the Black community, ways that are not violent and ways that are violent. Right, we do. And we can also say this, because this has been said specifically by the men. We can also say, and it's also not a lie, that white men also commit crimes. White men also kill each other. White men also participate in drug use and abuse and things like that. But it's not about who else is doing it. It's about how often is it happening compared to the size of the group it's happening in. Black men are not a large group of men. It's like what, 20 something million of them. So for all this to be going on within such a small group, yes, it is alarming. Compared to white men, there's like 100 something million white men. So the rate of which the drug use and all that stuff is going on isn't happening to the point where they white men can't excel in society and white men can't still produce resources. Right? Bad things do happen amongst white men and other groups of men, but it's not to the point where they're down and out and on their ass. Okay? It's not to the point where white men are getting canceled because they're talking crazy about other groups of people stealing something from them. That's not happening. It's not happening at that rate, right? Anything that happens to the black community within the black community, these negative things is always going to be such a bigger deal because we're not a big group. We're not a large group of people. So for all this crap to be going on is alarming because this crap can take all of us out. Black men taking women out 5.5 hours, there's not a lot of black women. So if it got worse, it could take a lot of black women out and would affect us as a group of people. And on top of that, uh, as far as birth rates, they're also going down. So if more deaths are happening than births, which is actually true, that was reported, more black people are dying than being born, that's a problem as well. That's why they also are looking at the crime rates. What are you guys saying? Beauty says one interesting takeaway from this whole ordeal, the importance of legal protection slash documentation. If you look up the legal definition of anti-Semitism, no group can speak of the Jews because of it. Yeah, that is true. Working smarter, reading, reading things. KM says Jays are even smaller group of people. We don't see any of this drugs, killings, and pro stuff happening in their communities. That is true too. They're even smaller. Also, are I think Native Americans, I believe, are even smaller than the Black community. I think, right? But still, the rates aren't where they're at. Now, we can also say for the Jays is because they do have a lot of money in that community. Communities that do have a lot more wealth, the crime isn't as high, like violent, aggravated assault type of crimes aren't as high, right? But that's all due to the Jews working smarter. A lot of people, there are, there's a lot of white people who are anti Jewish too, right? But I'm just not with that. If you have the wealth, you have it for a reason. Okay, no one goes stealing things and succeeds for generations to come. Usually, somebody just was smart at making deals, and the other person just lost out. It is what it is. Capitalism, that's how it works. In a capitalistic system, there's winners and losers. Now, are those positions permanent? No. You have poor people getting rich all the time, and then you have rich people turning poor all the time. It's all interchangeable, but that's how it is. There's always going to be some losers. There's always going to be some losers and some winners. It is what it is, right? Now, there's another thing that came up. Where is it? Oof, hopefully I can still see it. There's another thing that came up, and I don't know if I would consider this exactly like a method of. Oh, finally, this one came back. A method of how the Black community is being ruined, per se. But I, like, once I speak about it a little bit more, the response the responses that I saw from black men regarding this was, to be honest, very disgusting. Just, it was gross. Okay, it was really, really gross when I saw this. I see this. Yeah, I can. So this came out literally, I don't know what, about 2 weeks ago at this point. America has a black sperm donor shortage. Black women are paying the price. Black men account for fewer than 2% of sperm donors at cryobanks, which are sperm banks. Their vials are gone in minutes. This was written by Amber Ferguson. She looks like a black woman. So I have a lot of thoughts on this. on this sperm thing. A lot of black men had this article up, um, basically using this article as a one up on black women. Ha ha, black woman, we won. You can't have kids and all this other stuff. Black woman making money says that Washington Post article was weird. I don't think there are too many black women looking for sperm at a donor bank. This is so true. This is exactly my thought when I saw this. There are majority of black women are not trying to go to a sperm bank. I'm just gonna put that out there. Majority of women in general, really no matter her color, that want to have a child by a black man. Um, no shade when I say this, but you don't have to go to a sperm bank to make that happen. Okay, black men make it clear themselves that they are ready to sleep around. All right. And you don't need to go to a sperm bank to have a black man's child. Okay. It's white men and other races of men that won't hit you up at 2 a.m. for real to sleep with you, but black men will. And this was reported by other white women. I don't know if you guys ever saw like a conversation between a group chat between these white girls. It like went viral. It was definitely on Twitter. This was like probably a year ago, a few months ago, I guess. And these white girls were saying that black men are very easy to sleep with. You can hit a black man up at 3 in the morning for some sex, but a white man, not so much. A white man will, they said, white men will not, they will not wake up and sleep with you at 3 a.m. just because you're horny. It's black men that do this. So if you want a black baby, you don't have to you don't need to go to you don't need to go to a sperm bank, child. Okay, you can just sleep with a black man, look good and sleep with a black man, and you can have a black child if that's what you really want, right? But this article, I read a little bit of it. It's kind of, I'm not going to read the whole thing here, right? But it is on Washington Post. um So the first part of the article, they talk about a lesbian couple, and that's really the type of woman that would look to get a sperm bank are women who are lesbian or women who are part of the LGBT type of stuff. Heterosexual black women are not searching for sperm donors. The way that this article is putting it out there, it's just not happening for us. It's not that deep for us. I've never met a black woman who's fertile and all of that, running to a sperm bank to have a child. And this type of black woman actually wants kids. She actually wants to have a family. She's never going to think, oh, let me go to a sperm bank and create a child by myself. Like that's not happening. Usually, for black women that get pregnant, they're getting pregnant from consensual sex with other black men. They're not seeking a sperm bank. So I don't know why the men consider this some kind of flex that they can do on black women. Because then they were, from the commentaries I saw on this, they were turning this into a another way to up their value as black men. And this is what happens when you're dealing with a group of men who don't have power anywhere for real. Stuff like this will make them feel powerful. Like, "Oh my gosh, our sperm is so sought after." Our our relationship status is so sought after. Like when I hear black men in this space talk about their value and what makes them valuable, it's diminished down to sex. And now, since this came out, it's diminished down to like their seed, but it's never placed on what they own, how the institutions that they have in society, any industries, and you can't even say the sports industry. You can't even say the NFL or the NBA because the executives of the NFL and the NBA, the people who actually the men who own the teams of the NFL and the NBA, they're not black. They're not black men. So they don't own that industry. They just work for that industry. So there's no serious industries that black men work for. Therefore, stuff that they really only have power over, which is what's in between their pants and their testicles, they are going to heighten that up through the roof, right? So this article didn't do anything for Black women. So majority of Black women are not trying to go to a sperm bank to have their baby, especially since there's a lot of talks and conversations online about single motherhood amongst Black women. Um, those women, I can guarantee you, majority of the time, didn't become single mothers from going to a sperm bank. So if being a single mother in the Black community is just so easy to do naturally, that should tell you that black male sperm is not really that valuable. You can get it just from messing with one. Okay, you don't even go to no damn. Don't need to go to no damn bank to get one if you really want one. Okay, but this article, it just painted a picture of Black women being very desperate to have a child and to have kids. And in reality, this just isn't true. Now, another reason why the black man sperm shortage is very short, which I think they touch on in this article as well, from what I remember from reading it, is that the health of the black man's sperm is not there. Like the black man's sperm is unhealthy. Therefore, it doesn't qualify to be in a sperm bank, meaning the sperm that black men are giving contain genetic disorders, birth defects, much more than white men, Asian men, and Hispanic men. And remember that I did a live a while ago on my channel when I was talking about Roe versus Wade, and I really touched on the subject of maternal health for Black women who go through pregnancy. There was a study I also showed where Black men, white men, Asian men, and Hispanic men, they tested their sperm, and that study reported that of all those men, black men had the lowest quality sperm, the most unhealthy sperm, from that study. And they blame this on the fact that black men live lifestyles that are just unhealthy. They smoke too much, they drink too much, they have a lot of drugs too much. There's also another study that I posted from the Pew Research Center saying that black men are basically like number one in drug overdoses as of over the pandemic. So that should tell you a lot about the lifestyles of a lot of black men. They're losing their own, they're taking themselves out from the use of drugs. So you already know, to get involved in drugs in that way, you have to be a part of that environment usually. It has to be people around you on drugs to get you on some drugs usually. And if black men are the most likely to overdose off of drugs, then we already know that black men are also the most likely to be involved in an environment where people are on drugs a lot compared to black women. In that same study, black women were not at the top to have drug overdoses. I think Native American women were the most, I believe. I did a video on it, so I can post that as well later on. But that's the real reason why. That's the real reason why there's a black sperm shortage, because a lot of black men don't qualify to have their sperm in these sperm banks, right? It has to do with them also not knowing who their father is. A lot of black men don't know who their father is. Honestly, a lot of black women don't contact their father either, because the fathers have left. We already know that. We already know that story, right? But a lot of black men don't know their bloodline. They don't know where their father is, who their father is, or their grandfather, their father's father, their uncle, brother of their father, whatever. They don't have that information, which is needed in these sperm banks as well, compared to other races of men who come from two-parent homes who do have all that information. Also, they say in the study that black men don't go to the doctor, so they can't properly report their medical history either. Because for this article also says that when here it is, donors receive $70 to $150 per donations. So considering that there's a lot of black men who need more income, they could be pumping out semen at least $150 a pop, especially if there's a shortage. They can probably get a lot of money for their sperm if there is a shortage, right? But if their lifestyle is unhealthy, if they're not working out, if they're smoking cigarettes or smoking marijuana, and nothing against people that smoke marijuana. I personally don't smoke anything, but If that's you, that's you. But if you want to donate blood, sperm, eggs, whatever, they look into stuff like that. That matters in this type of situation if you're doing that or not, right? So they don't this could be in my eyes I don't want to say this could be quote unquote easy money for black men, but if they're getting at least $150 per donation, you can go here. I don't know how it really works. I don't know the system, so don't quote me on this, but you can go here a few days a week, give some semen up, and get $150, and that can pay off some of your bills. But the lifestyles of that black men live are unhealthy. They don't know their medical history. They don't go to the doctor, and they don't qualify. And that's the real reason why there's a shortage. And all the commentaries that I was watching, the black men are making it seem like they value their seed and they're not gonna just give it away to any old institution to use it. And it's just like, that is not the case. If that was the case, black men wouldn't be creating single mother homes at the rate that they are if they really valued their seed. Black men, or I'm sorry, did I say black women? I mean, black men aren't creating, they wouldn't be creating single mother homes at the rate that they are. They value their seed. They would also be getting married at a higher rate if they valued their seed the way that they say they do. And, they would just have more families. Okay. They wouldn't be out here giving, impregnating women that they don't want to be with, they're just turned on bisexually. They wouldn't be impregnating women that they really don't know if they truly value their seed, right? And in that same study that I showed on my channel about sperm quality also affects that study also reported that sperm quality also affects a woman's pregnancy. So the how your pregnancy is going to go, like if you're going to have any complications, also is affected by sperm quality too, right? So a lot of black women who have issues in their pregnancy, we know that's very high, but we also know that majority of black women are getting pregnant by black men. And studies have confirmed that black men have the lowest quality of sperm. So I'm not trying to imply that that is why so many black women have complications in pregnancy, but I'm just telling y'all the facts. A lot of black women are having complications in pregnancy because majority of the time they're procreating with men that have the lowest quality of sperm, okay? And that can cause effect. So, look, it's serious out here. All right? It's serious out here, right? And um, other things I was seeing that Black men were saying about this article was that they don't like the fact that Black women who are searching for their sperm would rather just have their sperm and have a baby, but not want to be with them in a family, in a relationship, in a marriage, and have a baby that way. And so the Black men made it seem like Black women are just anti family and crazy. But to be honest, the perspective that I think they refuse to see and acknowledge is that if women in general would rather have your sperm than to have you, that says a lot about you as a person. No woman really signs up for single motherhood, but a woman will do it to, continue their legacy and to have children and things like that. I'm pretty sure that when we're all little girls and we think about having babies for the first time, I'm pretty sure we all dream of it being with the man we love. We don't dream of it being at a sperm bank. It's for heterosexual women that I see going the sperm bank route, that's usually after they've tried the relationship route. They've tried to work it out with a man, with a black man in particular, especially for black women. They've tried it with black men and it just won't work. Right. And also, I don't think these black women who are going to these sperm banks, even though the number is low, the ones that are going to these sperm banks, I also don't think they're opening up their options. I also don't think that they're dating outside of their race and finding a mate that way, right? But they're probably not doing it because they want to have black children. So they're at this. you know, crossroads of they can't make it work with a black man or the black man that they want or whatever reason there, but they still want black children. So they're going to go to a sperm bank to find this sperm only to come up short and that there's not enough black sperm there because black sperm is the unhealthiest type of sperm. Just is what it is. And the black men in general don't know, aren't knowledgeable about their medical history to to even qualify to enter into this system. Arts of Aries says actually a lot of black men have mental illness that could be passed down to children too. Yes, substance abuse. Yeah. They look at all of that, y'all. These banks look at not just physical type of diseases, but yes, mental. They asking, did anyone in your family delete themselves before? Depression. There, that stuff is also genetic and can be passed down. Spirituality says kids need both parents. Money can't fix that. I absolutely agree. I don't think black women should try to go into sperm banks. To be honest, I think if you want a family and you are a black woman and it is not working out with black men, I think you need to open up your options. There are way too many men out here. And yes, that is the absolute answer I have for you. Like, there is no other, well, what if that doesn't work? There is no other that doesn't work because there's way too many non-black men out here that are single and also want a family, that the probability of it not working out for you once you open up your options is incredibly slim, probably almost non-existent. And even then, if it doesn't work out for you, I would then question, okay, sis, do you think you're ready for a relationship? Are you where you need to be? Because there's so many different men that come from so many different environments that have belief systems that would work for a family. And if you still can't make it work, even with men that are actual husband material, then I would say, like, okay, maybe it's time for you as a woman to look within yourself on why these relationships aren't working. Because when it comes to dating black men, the reasons we can say relationships don't work with them is because black men perpetuate a culture that is anti-family, anti-commitment, and really anti-woman and children with the rap community and the get money, new money type of stuff. That stuff doesn't help promote children and family either, right? Beauty for Ashes says, yes, please open your options. That's so interesting. I honestly haven't heard about the lack of sperm. I'll have to look up the article later. Yeah, it is very interesting. I didn't really think about it myself, but once I saw it, I just wasn't surprised, knowing just what like I feel like is everywhere. I don't know. Like I wasn't surprised because black men don't participate in things like this anyway. It's not even within their culture. They just go out and get multiple women. I mean, look at Nick Cannon. Why can't Nick Cannon just donate his sperm? Oh, that's right, because he has lupus, right? Doesn't he have a disease? He wouldn't even qualify for that. Spirituality says you can hope and pray all you want. The data proves otherwise. Um, for which data are you referring? Is what I would want to know. I'm 31 with no kids in my own apartment living life. I really don't feel I want kids now, but I am open to adopting a black girl one day if I ever decide to adopt. And I think adoption is a great option for a lot of black women who do want kids and the relationships aren't working out and you do want children. You can adopt. There's a lot of black children that are in the system that need families. These white women definitely be out here adopting black kids. That's just okay. That women can't raise men alone. Oh yes. I agree with that. Women can't raise men because we're not men. We are not men. Women cannot do it. We can keep uh, our son safe and give him food, but we can't teach him the fundamentals of manhood. You need a real man to do that. It just is what it is. KM says that's the point. People don't want to adopt, they want their own biological child. It's all an it's all an exercise and ego investment to see a mini me version of themselves. This is very true. People do want to see themselves recreated, but the difference between men and women, men want to see a version of themselves recreated. Definitely, because that's like the main connection they'll have because they're visual. So they need to see their child actually looking like them as well. But us as women, we carry the child within our bodies. Like you can't get any more connected than that. So for women, naturally, even throughout history, right? Women were never really concerned as much with it's not really a thing that women are concerned with how their kids looked historically. Women are concerned first and foremost, once again, with security and protection. So yes, these African these ancient African villages that would sell their women off to get taken and uh have other races of men sleep with them and stuff like that. Obviously, that was horrible. But what I'm saying is women primarily are just not they don't have control of what the kids are look like per se. They desire to have security and protection so that in the event they do get pregnant, they have a healthy, stress-free type of pregnancy, a safe pregnancy. They're able to deliver their child. And then once they do, they'll be taken care of afterwards. That's the main thing. And that is something that's another talking point I hear a lot in the BWE space when it comes to opening up your options, that as a Black woman, to let go of wanting to create an image of you. You should be concerned with, in the event you do create, you are safe, you are protected, you are provided for. That is way more important than how your child is going to come out looking. Okay, what's the point of wanting your child to look some kind of way when you can't put food on your table? You can't even provide, you don't even have the resources you have to carry on. Which one is more important? Which one is more important? Some of us came from abusive married homes and decided against the risk altogether, and that's fine. Not every I don't think every single Black woman should 100% get married, but I am pro marriage myself. I come from a two-parent home. I know a lot of Black women, young and older, who are married and actually love their husbands and love their family. And I do think marriage can work for a lot of Black women, but I don't think it's necessary for every single Black woman. Nowhere, even if you're religious, you're not promised marriage. You're not promised a mate. If you're religious and you're Christian or you know about Christianity, the we're told to be fruitful and multiply. Okay, that's what we're told to do. We're not told God just loves marriage. Okay, he loves when people are united within a union. All right, if you are spiritual and religious and you believe this, but you're not guaranteed a spouse. Nobody is. No one. You're not. That is really up to you. It's up to you what you believe, your choices, places you plan to go, people you choose to see. That's within your doing. Like God isn't there's nowhere in scripture where you will find God saying woman will get a husband. That's not happened. That was something that was just done. All right. So if you're not trying to make that happen for you, that's just, that's your choice. I'm not into marriage either. It's just saying, yeah, absolutely. Anything that is unhealthy is horrible and you should exit. But especially if it's a marriage, because marriage will, a horrible marriage can really affect your life and quite literally push you over the edge. There's people who have taken themselves out based off of the type of marriage that they have. Cam says marriage is a privilege, not a right. We've got a bunch of men here thinking they're entitled to women's bodies and also women thinking they're entitled to a rich, high quality man. Yeah, exactly. I agree with both. I've said so on my channel before. Even if you do want to get married, we're not guaranteed millionaires. So if you do want to stay home, you do want to support your, have resources as a woman, and maybe you just so happen to fall for a guy who's not rich and maybe can't support that for you. It's probably better that you as a woman develop some kind of skills to set yourself up to stay home. So rather you have a man or not, sorry, my phone. Really rather even if you have a man or not, regardless, you have the finances where you don't have to work a 9 to 5. Period. Can't go wrong with that. Just set yourself up to do what you want to do. And since we're on this topic, I'm going to move on to where's that doggone thing I had? Uh, since we're on that topic of marriage, I'm going to move on to the next thing I wanted to talk about as well that I've seen, which is, in my opinion, horrible, right? Drake put out a new song, right? Hopefully, you guys have heard about this by now. And Lawrence is correct. There's even a verse that says that God designated some women and men to basically be nuns, but he wants most of us married. You need to work ever. Exactly. Thank you. Facts. 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 Because if you're a woman who has certain skills and talents, especially during the time of this, of what, A. Lauren is talking about during this time period, there were just certain women who just didn't get married because they served their community. They were good teachers. They were doulas and midwives. They were dressmakers. And they were just really good at just taking care of other people. That if they got married and have kids, it would cause a hindrance to not only the work they're doing to serve, but to those people they're serving because they need their services. So this is equivalent to today. If you're a woman who has an amazing career and you are really making a change in people's life and you are helping people and you don't want to pause that to have a baby, you're technically not in the wrong for that. If you believe as a woman that's what you need to do, if you believe it, all right, you're not pressured. There's no pressure for you to marry and have a kid. That is something that you have to, yeah, technically work for. In general, relationships take work, period, flat out, period. Okay. They take work. I mean, obviously you're going to meet a person you're compatible with, but still that person has flaws and so do you. And therefore, there's going to have to be some work done to maintain that um, harmony in the relationship. Right. But, it's up to you if that's what you want. Okay. Plenty of women throughout history and villages and stuff like that didn't have kids. They were just busy serving. They lived their life serving the community, taking care of other children, right? That just is what it is. Figure out your purpose. You're not, you don't have to be with someone. Personally, I think that it's always better to have a lot of families. We need families in any community. We need majority families instead of majority single people. Things will start to dwindle if that happens, but you don't have to sign up to be a part of that group who is, um, trying to have a baby and have a husband. You don't have to. If you have a skill that's very valuable, this is why a lot of women who have careers stress about having a baby versus working their career because, it's going to cause harm to their business, to their clients, the people that they're also working with, and to their overall finances and their own, way of maintaining their security and their lifestyle because they don't have a man. And so having a baby can set them back, right? And then if they do have a man, even still, it's no guarantee that man, you know, especially in today's time, divorces happen. No guarantee that man will stay. So if you have to pause on your career, even as a married woman, to have a child, that's still something to think about. Being communal is not about being a wife and mother. The patriarchy and religion forced us to believe that. You're actually absolutely right. Now, when it comes to patriarchy, for me personally, I don't have a problem with men being in charge. I don't have a problem with men being leaders. I like male leadership, but I only like it with men who know how to lead and know what they're doing. With men who actually give a damn about other people, especially women and children. The men that be on here talking crap, I don't think um, are fit for leadership, which is why they believe they need to come on here and talk their way into power and leadership, like we did earlier, and like we discussed earlier in the live with Kyrie and Kanye. Their character that they're exhibiting, they just kick themselves right out the running for male leadership and place themselves in the eternal uh, realm of being a worker instead of being a leader. And the real leaders reminded them of that. Okay. Spirituality says we live so much better as women these days. I don't get what y'all are getting by raising kids alone. This is absolutely correct. I said so before, I think on my last live, that it is a wonderful time to be a Black woman, especially today. The things that us as Black women can do today are almost nowhere near what our grandmothers could do and our great grandmothers could do. You already know it's nowhere near it, okay? Black women have so many opportunities today. That is why the vitriol is so much louder today, because there's so many amazing things that we can do. Real Black women who are living that life don't give a damn what Black men are talking about. I don't know why these Black men, is that what I said? Black women who are living their lives today don't give a damn about what Black men are talking about. I don't know why these Black men just don't understand that. They be on here stuck in their own little world, praising the failures of Black women and then painting this narrative that all Black women are losing or something. Like, what the hell? Like, boy, if you don't log off of YouTube and really check into reality, every day you turn on the news, who's getting arrested? Who's taking somebody out? Not Black women, it's Black men doing that. Black men are doing that. Black men are on the news committing these crimes. Black women are not. But somehow Black women are losing. And then they want to bring up marriage. Okay. It is actually the truth that yes, Black women are the least married group of women. But I honestly, a lot of research has also proved that's by choice. Black women choose to just not be with a Black man. It's just a choice. And you know it's a choice because the Black men are, I guess, on here suddenly saying that they want families and want to be married and they want to have a Black family. But Black women are not on the internet saying the same thing about Black men. They're not. They're either saying nothing or they're talking about they're divested and swirling. And these pick me Black women that are on here don't even talk about being with a Black man for real. They just talk crap about Black women all day. All right. Black women are choosing to not be. This is what researchers have said. Black women are choosing to stay by Black men, a group of men who who really don't value marriage. They're on here saying that they do, but they really don't. They really don't. So let's get that clear. Let's get that very clear, okay? If black women opened up their options even like just a little at the same rate that I guess black men do, those marriage rates would be different. All right. Non-black men know that it's rare to get a black woman. Okay. It's not a common thing. Swirlers and divestors, I've said so before, ladies. I think it's a great movement and everything, but they're not the majority of black women. Majority of black women are not swirlers and they're not divestors. Majority of black women who want a relationship want one with a black man. But it's just not happening because they choose to not date other races of men as well. Over here on my channel, this isn't a swirler or divester channel. This is a best man for the job channel. But if you when you develop standards and boundaries, especially if you want a serious relationship that leads to marriage and you want more of a traditional thing, a lot of black men just won't qualify for that because their culture just doesn't the black male culture just doesn't perpetuate the image of a black man having a family. Instead, it perpetuates the black man as Future, as Drake, as one of the Migos, or whatever. It doesn't perpetuate the image of a black man as a lawyer, as a doctor, as a family man. Like, that's not it. It's not it. But on to Drake and Serena Williams, right? So if you guys, I haven't even heard this new album. I really don't care to. Drake is kind of annoying. His music lately in general has just kind of sucked compared to his old stuff. My personal opinion, if I'm going to comment on his music. But um, but yeah, he put out an album. He made some digs at black women. One of them being a married black woman who's minding her business with her husband, Alexis Ohanian, who is an entrepreneur who's done very well for himself. Him and Serena Williams have gotten married. They have their beautiful daughter, minding their business, living life. And here comes Drake putting out a lyric calling Alexis Ohanian a groupie for supporting his wife. For supporting his wife. Really? This is another way that black men are ruining the black community. They are anti family. And then you get online and you see all the videos of black men defending Drake, thinking that what Drake did is correct, that Alexis Ohanian is a simp. Dude, are you serious? That's his wife. Serena Williams is not some $2 thought from the brothel. That's his wife. Yes, he's going to support her. This is what I'm saying. The black male culture does not support families. They do not enjoy seeing black women as wives because they weren't raised seeing a black woman as a wife. They come from single mother homes. Now, I don't really give you ladies advice on my channel. Like, I don't tell y'all who to date. I just suggest that having standards and boundaries is the best way to go, no matter what the color of the man is. That's just me. But if I were to give you all some dating advice or at least some form of quote unquote vetting advice for men, I would not pick men from single mother homes as your top pick, to be honest, in the black community, especially. Because men from single mother homes, what I've noticed dating them and just talking to them is they do have a problem with commitment. The most compared to men from two parent homes, men from single mother homes have a problem with commitment. They don't really like women because they definitely um, resent like their mothers because the father left. So they're mad. And they also just in general come with mommy issues. Drake comes from a home where he didn't see his mom being a wife, and he definitely didn't see a black woman being a wife because his mother is white. Okay. So this isn't a surprise. There's plenty of black men that think like him. And you already know there is because they're on YouTube making videos defending this, defending a grown man coming from another person's marriage out of the blue. A girl he dated that, from what I understand, dumped him. And then Drake goes on line later on, I guess while he's doing press about this album, talking about he's addicted to pornos about blowjobs, that he has multiple girlfriends at a time. This is the same man that didn't even want to acknowledge he had a child. Like, what? And then I've also seen pictures, of Drake at the sidelines being a groupie for basketball, and then at the same time gonna criticize, um, a husband for supporting his wife. Like, dude, Drake is literally a clown. He's really a clown because what grown man is going to criticize another person's marriage? And for what reason? Again, black men stirring up stuff, not because they actually have any real control, but because they just want to talk out the side of their neck. They want to keep talking trash about everybody, about the Jews, about black women who are married, right? Like this it's just getting to the point where these men are screaming for attention and screaming for validation because nothing is going to change. Calling out Serena Williams' husband is not going to make them get a divorce. Like, calling out the Jews is not going to make the Jews give up their contracts and sign it over to black men. You don't get anything from this. Drake gets nothing from this. And he also, made some comments allegedly about Megan the Stallion. And apparently, Meg filed something where that particular line he talks about her, she receives credit for that now. She now is going to get paid a portion of the sales or streams or however the money works for that line. I don't even know how they are able to calculate the dollar amount per lyric, but the lyrics that Drake addressed her, she's getting paid for those. That's what I read in another article, right? That's what I read in another article. And, you know, the more that these black men just want to talk trash, the more consequences they're going to face, whether it's consequences in losing business deals or the consequences of just not being able to maintain their influence, the consequences of now looking like a clown. And Drake hasn't really done very well within his music. Um, Someone said, like, since he put out that he had a child, that he was hiding his child. So, nobody is no one is supporting 2022 black male culture. This alpha calling out the simps, calling out who stole something from them. No one is supporting this. This is making them look horrible and it is ruining the black community, which is why you have a whole movement where black women are trying to tell each other to just leave. Leave these men to suffer in what they caused. No group of women in 2022 has made a movement where they have to get away from their men due to the things that these men are choosing to do. Black women are the only ones to do this, and that should tell you a lot about black men. Lauren says, "I hope Drake's son has daughters for children in the future with a white woman, so we can be done with Drake's line influencing the world with nonsense. Girls more likely to stay away from rap culture." Yes, I agree, and that's going to be the future for a lot of black men who have biracial children. Their bloodline is going to be lost. Their bloodline is going to be lost. Goddess says they care so much what other people think. They don't understand that they don't have to speak on everything. No, yeah, they really don't. You have a group of men who apparently are supposed to have the most money in our community. These particular group of men, Drake, Kanye, and Kyrie, and for some reason they just believe they need to speak on everything. For what? What is speaking on Serena's husband and how he treats her going to do for the black male community? Alexis Ohanian is not a black man. Serena is clearly not trying to date a black man. She's married, number one, and she's married to a non-black man, number two. She has a child by him, number three, which we already know black men don't want women with children. What is this? What is this going to do? What was the cause of this? Now Drake just looks like a clown. Now people are pulling up pictures of him looking like a groupie. There's TikToks of guys like acting what is the word? Like when a guy likes to switch his hips and wave his hand in the air, kind of like a girl, flamboyant. Yeah, there's like all these flamboyant videos of guys, straight guys, my add, impersonating, trying to make it seem like they're Drake for like I guess one of his songs, one of the parts of the songs. It's just like his image didn't increase because he's coming for a married woman. It decreased. He looks like more of a clown. He didn't get positive um, press from this. He got press where it's revealed that he's actually the groupie, trying to get up next to NBA players and stuff and sitting courtside. You know what I'm saying? KM said, "No one's standing with these men, certainly not their peers in sports or hip hop industry. Average black man watching ESPN isn't stopping watching it either." Yeah, no one is standing by black men. White men are not making videos, like by and large, about how Drake is correct in coming for Alexis Ohanian. Only black men are making this because the black male culture, it doesn't matter what they're saying on YouTube. All right. The overall black male culture is about putting a woman in her place, bringing a black woman down, never settling down, creating babies everywhere, and sleeping with, being promiscuous, sleeping with hoes, as they would say, getting hoes. That's what the black male culture is about, and it's going to ruin the black community, right? Now I see black women on my own socials. I see black women also coming for Drake and pointing out his clown behavior, or I see them just saying nothing. But I don't see many black women supporting what he said because at the end of the day, women a lot of the times love marriage. So if all those women love marriage, they're not about to support a black man who comes for marriage. Well, Drake is biracial. My bad. He ain't no black man. He biracial, but he's trying to get in with the black men. And there is talks that biracial men will, try to. That biracial men are seen as more effeminate and weak, and so they'll try to do stuff to make themselves seem tough amongst black men. But the more that black men criticize to the world what married men and married fathers are doing, the more they look anti family. I don't see black women logging on to talk crap about Sierra's marriage or Serena Williams' marriage. And Sierra is married to a black man, and black men love talking about him for a fact. So it really just doesn't matter at this point. It's really not about because he's a white man, Serena Williams' husband is white. It's just about the fact that these men are married. No matter what color the guy is, black men don't like seeing other men married. They don't like marriage. They don't like creating families. They want to sleep around quite literally till they drop to the ground. For real. And no disrespect, but isn't that what happened to Mr. Kevin Samuels? Sleeping around and he quite literally dropped and that was it. That was it for him, right? There's a lot of black men like that. They're living a life where they play around, they play games, they don't create families, they don't respect women, they don't respect black women, that's for sure. And they end up in these nursing homes by themselves. All of a sudden, all the babies they created um, with all these other women, they grow up, go 30 years without talking to them, and then on their deathbed, try to contact them. The kids are coming online to say, we don't answer the phone when our dad calls because he hasn't tried to raise us in 20 years, 20, 30 years. That's all over. When you talk about black men in nursing homes, that's all in the comments. People are all like, yep, that was my dad. I didn't go visit him. RIP. And that's just that, right? This is another reason for, just in general, black women talking about dating out and marrying out if you do want marriage. There's a lot of black women who don't want it, of course. There's a lot of women of all colors that don't care to have a man, period. That's not a black woman thing. All women are, you know, have the capacity to not want a man either. But for the ones that do, they are telling each other to stay away from black men because this is the stuff that they think is okay. Why would you want to marry a man who thinks it's okay to come for other married men? Why? What are you gaining from that? You think that that man is going to be a good husband to you and he thrives off of making fun of other husbands? If you believe that, okay, right? B. Michelle says most of them have never seen a healthy relationship. Yeah, that's why they're hard to be with. And let me tell you guys the difference between a black woman who comes from a single mother home and a black man who comes from a single mother home. If you're trying to enter into a traditional relationship as a black woman who comes from a single mother home, it's much more easier for you to follow and just get under a good man's leadership than it is for a man to actually figure out how to lead and be that good man. That has to be taught to being a leader. You don't have to really be taught how to follow. Following is easy. Anyone can do that. That's not a hard thing to do. It's leading that's hard. So if you're dealing with a group of men that have never seen it, they're not going to be good at it. There's plenty of black women who are married from single mother homes and are doing fine. They just got with a good man, right? But a lot of black men that come from single mother homes tend to not get married, even if they have all the money. If you read the book Is Marriage for White People, the author in that book reports that majority out of all the high earning men of all races, the black high earning man is the most single within that group versus the opposite with the other non-black high earning men. Actually, the more money non-black men make, the more likely they're to get married, but it's not that way for black men who earn the most money. Yes, can we talk about why these high profile black male celebrities attack black women that are married, living life highly successful, as if they are better than these beautiful families? It will never, I will never understand it. I will never understand how a group of single men that come from very tumultuous homes want to talk crap about peaceful homes that black women are involved in. I will never understand. I'll never get it. And this is another reason why black men don't get appointed to a lot of powerful positions. This is why they don't make it to the C suite. This is why they don't make it to the executive rooms. They don't value legacy. They're not disciplined. They want to sleep around with multiple women. That's what they want to do. They think it's cool. They think it's okay. They think it's no big deal. That's why they get left out. Like, hello. They hate seeing, and since we look like them as black women, since we look similar to them, skin tone and all that, they expect us to be on board with that. They expect us to also think it's okay to, you know, um, not wanna be serious about marriage. Like I said before, there's black women who don't wanna get married, but that doesn't mean they wanna be baby mamas either. Right? Like, black men want you to be okay with this type of stuff they're doing, whether they admit it or not. They want you to be okay with not getting married, and they actually want you to be okay with being a baby mama. And the black women who don't wanna get married, they don't wanna be a baby mama. They wanna leave everything alone. They have talent, skills, desires, and passions and purpose that are pushing them, in a direction that is away from marriage. That's their choice. But those women don't wanna sleep around with you. They don't wanna be your baby mama, okay? And let's be real here. The women that are really taking on that role aren't really black women anymore. They're like Latinas, mixed women, biracial women. Okay, there's plenty of black women that come online and say that, black girls don't even get into the club. So how is it that black women are the face of all this whole behavior and this 304 activity when the preferences are the only ones that can get in? Like, make that make sense to me. Watch any music video, and majority of the girls in there aren't black anymore. They don't look like black women. Like, that's just the truth. That's just the truth, y'all. Like, these men don't wanna get married. They don't. They come on here and tell you every day. They say this to the world every day. Now they're putting it in their music. Drake doesn't wanna get married. He has nothing but lyrics completely against it, or promoting a lifestyle that wouldn't support marriage in the first place. He's addicted to porn. He's addicted to sleeping with porn stars, and he can't stay with one woman. He needs more than one woman in his life at all times, right? This is a guy who is not fit to be in leadership. He can start his own crap if he wants, but it's still not going to go far because majority of men don't agree with Drake's lifestyle. They wouldn't do Drake's lifestyle. Majority of men, they don't want to sleep with porn stars for real. They watch them, but they don't want to have babies and stuff by them. Like, that's not what's going on, especially with non-black men for sure, who are the majority. Okay, black men aren't the majority in this country. Non-black men are, and non-black men are not bringing home porn stars and getting them pregnant left and right and trying to have five girlfriends at a time. They non-black men don't put that in their music. They don't go on interviews talking about that. Black men are doing this. And then other black men who aren't doing it are putting out other stuff to support it. Meaning if they have the means, they would do it too. So, it is what it is, y'all. I don't know what the community is going to look like in the next 2 to 3 decades in terms of the status of families, wealth, imagery. I don't know what that's going to look like because, yes, non Black women are becoming the face of single motherhood. Black men really want to attach video vixens and that image to Black women, but in actuality, it's getting attached to non Black women. They don't even want Black girls in their section at the club. They want a bunch of mixed, biracial, uh, non-Black women in their section, these rappers and stuff. So you can't say Black women are the image of that stuff. We're not even invited in. We're not. So it's not us. That's not our image anymore. Okay. So, you know, these men are going to just be all over the place. There's not going to be a Black community, my personal opinion, because Black women are not going to cape and fight for these men anymore. And they're not going to deal with the degeneracy and really the vitriol, the bullying, the flat out bullying of Black women who are just minding their business. They're not going to deal with that. And it's now going to become a time where the only way Black men can get noticed and make money is if they talk crap about women. And that's going to make them look horrible on a mass scale. It's going to make them look horrible to other women to the point where the type of woman that does have standards and boundaries are going to stay far away from these types of guys. They're not going to care about these types of guys anymore. It's going to be mostly Spanish women who will be in the community. Yeah, you're right. There won't be any Black women in the community. They don't, because Black women don't want to deal with this. They're minding their business. It's always something, right? It's always something. These men ruin it all just from opening their mouth. Just from opening their mouth. They're turning everybody off. They're turning executives off, cutting up deals. They're turning Black women off. Black women are marrying out and marrying men of different mindsets and not trying to be bothered by them. And they just won't stop. They just keep going. God says they don't think long term. They live in the moment, which is horrible for leadership. Yeah, it sure is. They're not very provisional. They're not very provisional at all, right? But this is really all I had to show you guys today. Um, I'll post some timestamps so that you ladies can, watch the replay and go through it. This is what's been going on, and just in general throughout the entire year, really the last 2 years. I don't know about you guys, but I know for me and a lot of my girlfriends as well, like in my real life, a lot of my Black girlfriends, they have never seen so much vitriol from Black men online, like more than now. When Kevin Samuels came out and all this other stuff, it has been crazy. And it really has to be thinking, like, why are these men so goddamn hurt? Like, what is the freaking problem? Right? Like, Black women should have this level of vitriol. I mean, crazy, like, for real. And I don't look, the Black women who are actually doing things with their life, they're not talking about Black men all day. I'm sorry. But for somehow, all these men on YouTube are apparently traditional, high value earning men, and they can't stop talking about Black women all of the time. Black women love hearing crap about Black men love hearing crap about Black women. They love it, right? They love it. They get off on it. And I just don't understand why, because it does nothing for them. It keeps them down, it keeps them distracted. Stop worrying about Black women. Okay? Stop worrying about us. We're fine. We don't care. We're not, that's for damn sure. We're over it. Even black women who are the biggest social justice warriors, they're hanging up, they're hanging it up too. They're done, right? Every conversation I've been having with my black girlfriends lately at lunch and at brunch and stuff, they're all saying the same thing. Now, I've been open to dating out for quite some time, but these black women, my girlfriends, they're just now trying, basically like accepting the concept that they will have to date outside of their race because the black men they're meeting just aren't taking anything seriously. And these are young, these are black women under the age of 30 who don't have children, who've never been married. They do want to have kids someday. They do want to be married. They want a traditional relationship. And they're just like, man, like I can't, these black men are just not, um, they're just not of quality for me to be with. And they're not dating dusty pookies. They're dating black men that are educated, that live on their own, black men that on paper technically have it going on, but the mindset is just not there. So, it just is what it is. It is what it is. But I hope you ladies enjoyed this video. Make sure to give it a like. I'm going to leave this video up. I'll put some timestamps later on. And subscribe if you're a first time listener. And I will talk to you ladies in the next one.